The Battle of Khafji was the first major ground engagement of the Gulf War. It took place in and around the Saudi Arabian city of Khafji, from 29 January to 1 February 1991 and marked the culmination of the coalition's air campaign over Kuwait and Iraq, which had begun on 17 January 1991. Iraqi leader Saddam Hussein, who had already tried and failed to draw coalition troops into costly ground engagements by shelling Saudi positions and oil storage tanks and firing Scud surface-to-surface missiles at Israel, ordered the invasion of Saudi Arabia from southern Kuwait. The 1st and 5th Mechanized Divisions and 3rd Armored Division were ordered to conduct a multi-pronged invasion toward Khafji, engaging American, Saudi and Qatari forces along the coastline. These three divisions, which had been heavily damaged by coalition aircraft in the preceding days, attacked on 29 January. Most of their attacks were repulsed by U.S. Marines as well as U.S. Army Rangers and coalition aircraft, but one of the Iraqi columns occupied Khafji on the night of 29–30 January. Between 30 January and 1 February, 2 Saudi Arabian National Guard battalions and 2 Qatari tank companies attempted to retake control of the city, aided by coalition aircraft and American artillery. By 1 February, the city had been recaptured at the cost of 43 coalition servicemen dead and 52 wounded. Iraqi army fatalities numbered between 60 and 300, while an estimated 400 were captured as prisoners of war. The battle serves as a modern demonstration that air power in a supporting role to ground forces can be of great assistance in halting and defeating a major ground operation. It was also a major test of the Saudi and Qatari armies. Although the capture of Khafji was a propaganda victory for the Ba'athist Iraqi government, its subsequent recapture by Saudi and Qatari ground forces provided a major morale boost for coalition forces. Background: on 2 August 1990, the Iraqi army invaded and occupied the neighboring state of Kuwait. The invasion, which followed the inconclusive Iran-Iraq War and 3 decades of political conflict with Kuwait, offered Saddam Hussein the opportunity to distract political dissent at home and add Kuwait's oil resources to Iraq's own, a boon in a time of declining petroleum prices. In response, the United Nations began to pass a series of resolutions demanding the withdrawal of Iraqi forces from Kuwait. Afraid that Saudi Arabia would be invaded next, the Saudi government requested immediate military aid. As a result, the United States began marshalling forces from a variety of nations, styled the coalition, on the Arabian Peninsula. Initially, Saddam Hussein attempted to deter coalition military action by threatening Kuwait's and Iraq's petroleum production and export. In December 1990, Iraq experimented with the use of explosives to destroy wellheads in the area of the Amadi loading complex, developing their capability to destroy Kuwait's petroleum infrastructure on a large scale. On 16 January, Iraqi artillery destroyed an oil storage tank in Khafji, Saudi Arabia, and on 19 January the pumps at the Amadi loading complex were opened, pouring crude oil into the Persian Gulf. The oil flowed into the sea at a rate of 200,000 barrels a day, becoming one of the worst ecological disasters to that date. Despite these Iraqi threats, the coalition launched a 38-day aerial campaign on 17 January 1991, flying an estimated 2,000 sorties a day. Coalition aircraft rapidly crippled the Iraqi air defense systems and effectively destroyed the Iraqi Air Force, whose daily sortie rate plummeted from a pre-war level of an estimated 200 per day to almost none by 17 January. On the third day of the campaign, many Iraqi pilots fled across the Iranian border in their aircraft rather than be destroyed. The air campaign also targeted command and control sites, bridges, railroads, and petroleum storage facilities. Saddam Hussein, who was believed to have said, The Air Force has never decided a war, nevertheless worried that the air campaign would erode Iraq's national morale. The Iraqi leader also believed that the United States would not be willing to lose many troops in action, and therefore sought to draw coalition ground troops into a decisive battle. In an attempt to provoke a ground battle, he directed Iraqi forces to launch Scud missiles against Israel, while continuing to threaten the destruction of oil fields in Kuwait. These efforts were unsuccessful in provoking a large ground battle, so Saddam Hussein decided to launch a limited offensive into Saudi Arabia with the aim of inflicting heavy losses on the coalition armies. As the air campaign continued, the coalition's expectations of an Iraqi offensive decreased. As a result, the United States redeployed the 18th Airborne Corps and the 7th Corps 480 kilometers to the west. The coalition's leadership believed that should an Iraqi force go on the offensive, it would be launched from the al-Wafri oil fields in southern Kuwait. Order of battle. The Iraqi army had between 350,000 and 500,000 soldiers in theater, organized into 51 divisions, including 8 Republican Guard divisions. Republican Guard units normally received the newest equipment. For example, most of the estimated 1,000 T-72 tanks in the Iraqi army on the eve of the war were in Republican Guard divisions. The Iraqi army in the Kuwaiti theater of operations also included 9 heavy divisions, composed mostly of professional soldiers, but with weapons of a generally lesser grade than those issued to the Republican Guard. Most non-Republican Guard armored units had older tank designs, mainly the T-55 or its Chinese equivalents, the Type 59 and Type 69. The remaining 34 divisions were composed of poorly trained conscripts. These divisions were deployed to channel the coalition's forces through a number of breakpoints along the front, allowing the Iraqi army's heavy divisions and the Republican Guard units to isolate them and counterattack. However, the Iraqis left their western flank open, failing to account for tactics made possible by the global positioning system and other new technologies. In Saudi Arabia, the coalition originally deployed over 200,000 soldiers, 750 aircraft and 1,200 tanks. This quickly grew to 3,600 tanks and over 600,000 personnel, of whom over 500,000 were from the United States. Iraqi forces earmarked for the offensive into Saudi Arabia was the Iraqi 3rd Corps, the 1st Mechanized Division from 4th Corps and a number of commando units. 3rd Corps, commanded by Major General Salah Aboud Mahmoud, had 3rd Armored Division and 5th Mechanized Division, as well as a number of infantry divisions. 4th Corps commander was Major General Yaid Khalil Zaki. The 3rd Armored Division had a number of T-72 tanks, the only non-Republican Guard force to have them, while the other armored battalions had T-62s and T-55s. A few of which had an Iraqi applique armor similar to the Soviet bulging armor, also known as brow laminate armor or BDD. During the Battle of Khafji, these upgraded T-55s survived impacts from Milan anti-tank missiles. These divisions also had armored personnel vehicles such as the BMP-1, scout vehicles such as the BRDM-2, and several types of artillery. Also deployed along this portion of the front, though not chosen to participate in the invasion, were 5 infantry divisions that were under orders to remain in their defensive positions along the border. U.S. Marine Corps reconnaissance estimated that the Iraqi army had amassed around 60,000 troops across the border, near the Kuwaiti town of Wafra, in as many as 5 or 6 divisions. Infantry divisions normally consisted of 3 brigades with an attached commando unit. Although some infantry divisions could have up to 8 brigades, however, most infantry divisions along the border were under strength, primarily due to desertion. Armored and mechanized divisions normally made use of 3 brigades. with each brigade having up to 4 combat battalions, depending on the division type. These were generally a 3-to-1 mix, with either 3 mechanized battalions and 1 armored battalion, or vice versa. Given the size of the forces deployed across the border, it is thought that the Iraqi army planned to continue the offensive after the successful capture of Khafji, in order to seize the valuable oil fields at Dammam. The attack would consist of a 4-prong offensive. The 1st Mechanized Division would pass through the 7th and 14th Infantry Divisions to protect the flank of the 3rd Armored Division, which would provide a blocking force west of Khafji, while the 5th Mechanized Division took the town. The 1st Mechanized and 3rd Armored Divisions would then retire to Kuwait, while the 5th Mechanized Division would wait until the coalition launched a counter-offensive. The principal objectives were to inflict heavy casualties on the attacking coalition soldiers and take prisoners of war, who Saddam Hussein theorized would be an excellent bargaining tool with the coalition. As the units moved to the Saudi border, many were attacked by coalition aircraft. Around the Al-Wafra forest, about 1,000 Iraqi armored fighting vehicles were attacked by Harrier aircraft with rocket cluster bombs. Another Iraqi convoy of armored vehicles was hit by A-10s, which destroyed the first and last vehicles, before systematically attacking the stranded remainders. Such air raids prevented the majority of the Iraqi troops deployed for the offensive from taking part in it. Coalition forces. During the build-up of forces, the United States had built observation posts along the Kuwaiti-Saudi border to gather intelligence on Iraqi forces. These were manned by United States Navy SEALs, Marine Corps Force Reconnaissance and Army Special Forces personnel. Observation Post 8 was farthest to the east, on the coast, and another 7 observation posts were positioned each 20 kilometers until the end of the Peel, the geographic panhandle of southernmost Kuwait. Observation posts 8 and 7 overlooked the coastal highway that ran to Khafji, considered the most likely invasion route of the city. 1st Marine Division had 3 companies positioned at observation posts 4, 5 and 6. While the 2nd Marine Division's 2nd Light Armored Infantry Battalion set up a screen between Observation Post 1 and the Al-Wafra oil fields. The U.S. Army's 2nd Armored Division provided its 1st Tiger Brigade to give the Marines some much-needed armored support. The Saudis gave responsibility for the defense of Khafji to the 2nd Saudi Arabian National Guard Brigade and a Qatari armored battalion attached to Task Force Abu Bakr. The 5th Battalion of the 2nd Saudi Arabian National Guard Brigade set up a screen north and west of Khafji, under Observation Post 7. At the time, a Saudi Arabian National Guard Brigade could have up to 4 motorized battalions, each with 3 line companies. The brigade had a nominal strength of an estimated 5,000 soldiers. The Saudis also deployed the Tariq Task Force, composed of Saudi Arabian Marines and a battalion of Moroccan infantry. 2 further task forces, Othman and Omar task forces, consisted of 2 mechanized Ministry of Defense and Aviation brigades, providing screens about 3 kilometers south of the border. The country's main defenses were placed 20 kilometers south of the screen. The majority of the Arab contingent was led by General Khalid bin Sultan. The forces around Khafji were organized into the Joint Forces Command East, while Joint Forces Command North defended the border between Observation Post 1 and the Kuwaiti-Iraqi border.